All right, so we're using these 3x3x8 long pine boards here. They're really cheap in Mexico. We're using raw wood, and we're going to seal it with paint. You start by cutting this into, you're going to make 13 2-foot or 61 centimeter cuts on here, and that's the first step. So for one sink, you need 13 of these. Next step is we're going to measure out 4 of these. These are going to be the legs, and they are 100 centimeters. So mark them and cut them, and you're going to need 4 of these. So depending on what size wood you're using, you're going to want to measure down 3 inches for this one. If it's a 4x4, 4 inches. So in this case, it's a 3x3. We're going to measure 3 inches down and mark it here. The reason we're doing this is we're going to pre-drill holes into here so that the screws can fit into the leg pieces. And we'll show you what that looks like next. So your next step is you're going to want to pre-drill some holes into the wood. You're going to want to do 4 on each of these. And it should look like this. That way that the 3-inch deck screws can fit far enough into the smaller pieces to be able to hold 250 liters of water. So for the next part of this, you're going to want to measure down 6 inches. And mark it here. If you don't have a speed square, I highly recommend one. And the reason you're marking the 3-inch mark is because we already put 4 screws here. And you don't want to put 4 screws through this. So our next 4 pieces we're going to put on, or 2 pieces we're going to put on, are going to be right here. So we're going to go ahead and pre-drill 4 holes right here. You're going to grab another one of these smaller pieces here. Some of your cheap Home Depot 3-inch deck screws. Put one in here a little bit. And you want to line that up with the 3-inch line you made on the other side. Alright, so we've done the same thing on this one here, and now we're going to join this piece with this piece here, and then this will be our bottom. So, if you can see right here, we have our 3-inch line from these screws. So that's what you're going to want to line up. And that's the beautiful thing about buying grade B wood from Home Depot. None of it's straight, so sometimes you got to hold it together a bit. So now that we've done that to both sides, we'll flip this over. And this is our bottom. Now we're going to get the top built. So for this next part, we're going to want to do our next measurements. So if you look at this piece here, this piece is 3 inches up. So that, we're going to measure this piece right here. You want to come on this side here. So 3 inches down from the top, and mark it. Do the same thing right here, and mark it. And so write an X right here, and then you're going to put your holes there. Flip it around to this side, and you'll see that what's it called? These pieces were drilled in on the flush with the bottom here. So we're going to want this one to be 3 inches down. So mark 3 and 6. Put your line in so you know where to drill your holes. Do the same on this side here. All right, and mark your X right here. You're gonna go around and do that to the rest of these. Pre-drill your holes, and then we'll put these in. And sorry, world, my speed square isn't standard, so we're not doing metric with this. So. Also, with this part, I recommend using a drill and not an impact. Sometimes the impact will split the wood. The drill won't. So now we're going to go ahead and add all of these on. Now that we've pre-drilled all of our screws. These should fit pretty right since the other ones are the same size. You can see here that we have that line pre-drawn. That's the line you want to line it up with. Like I said, this is grade B wood, so it's not straight. So once you get the first one in, it's all smooth sailing. So you'll do the same thing with this here. This one gets dropped 3 inches down. And we'll do a different side here. Alrighty. And line it up with your pre-drawn lines there. Right, so then just go ahead and continue to do the same one on this side and this on this side, and that'll finish off the first part. So now you're going to grab 2 more of your 2-footers and jam them in here. They should fit pretty tight because everything's measured the same. Grab another one and tap it in. Make it flush with the outside. Do the same on this side. Alright, next step is you're going to want to drill 2 holes underneath here. You'll end up doing the same thing on the other side. And you'll put 2 screws in the bottom of this to keep it from going anywhere. Alright, so our next part here, we're going to build where the water tank is going to stand on. So you come over here, what you're going to want to do is take your measuring tape and measure from the 2-foot mark here. So that's 24 inches across. And you'll find the center, which is 12. Since your pieces are 3 inches, you want to measure 1.5 inches off your center, which will be 13.5 inches and 10.5 inches. And that's where this piece will sit. You're going to have 3 pieces on top. So the other one's going to be 5.25, and then you measure 1.5 inches off of each side, make a mark. Do the same thing from this end to that end. And then you're going to grab your speed square and line it up with these lines here. Make an X. Where you make your X's, you're going to make 3 holes in each one of these. You're going to do the same thing on that side, and we'll screw these puppies in. So now that we've measured each side, pre-drilled our holes, we have our 3 pieces ready to go. You're going to want to make this top piece here flush with this, and just screw it in. Now, if this is a project you want to do and be able to move, you can also do this with bolts. This takes a longer process. We don't see ourselves moving this anytime soon, so screws will work just fine for our needs. Do it on the other side, and do it for the other 2 pieces here, and then your structure's complete. So this is what your final product will look like before you paint it. You've got these three right here, which will hold some of the weight of the water tank. So will this and so the rest of it. I mean, it's built out of 3x3s, or you can build out of 4x4s. I mean, it's pretty freaking sturdy. So now we're gonna paint it, and we'll build the sinks and the drainage. All right, so the next step you're gonna wanna take is get some hose here that fits the bottom of whatever funnel you're gonna be using. Here we have 35 centimeters across aluminum funnels. I chose these because they're available and they don't rust, and they're relatively durable. You could also use plastic. You can make them out of buckets with this homemade sink drain. Pretty much as long as you have a vessel that can be attached to a hose, which attaches to your dirty water tank, you're in business. For this project, we're gonna measure down 13 inches or 33 centimeters, and you're gonna wanna mark it right here and cut it, and that's what your final piece will look like. Next up, you're gonna grab your cut hose, stick it on the end of here, pull it down, grab a hose clamp, and clamp that onto here. All right, when it's done, it should look like this. You wanna clamp this onto here, and onto building the sink. All right, next step, you're gonna grab your 55-gallon barrel and a drill with a hole saw that'll be big enough for the hose that you're using for whatever funnel you decided to get. If you look on these barrels, there's a seam on both sides. So go ahead and do those first two. The next step you're gonna make is to drill holes into your 55-gallon barrels. Make sure that the hole saw you're using is big enough for the hose to fit, but also small enough so it's sealed. If you're gonna do, depending on how many sinks you wanna do, you can do 4 or 2 or 1 or whatever your needs are. You could fit up to 4 sinks on each barrel. All right, this next step, you're gonna go ahead and grab a hole saw. And you're gonna wanna make this right here is for your drain, so you can pump it out with a hand pump. Now you wanna make it high up enough and over enough, give it about maybe 6 inches of clearance or 15 centimeters. So now we got our hole drilled here, and it should be big enough to fit either a hand pump or an electric pump, however you decide to just get rid of the water. Now, where we're at and using these sinks, we're not allowed to build anything permanent, or we would put the hole on the bottom. All right, so your next step here is you're gonna grab the piece of the bucket that you cut. You just have to make sure that this will fit over here. Now, if you don't have any buckets laying around, you can use any type of plastic. I like the buckets because it's already curved and it fits pretty nice and snug on there. The reason we're doing this is so mosquitoes don't lay eggs in there. Sorry, a little tough doing this with one hand, guys. Here we go. And now you just want to make sure that the hole is big enough to fit the bolt that you're going to be using. Now I went ahead and pre-drilled a couple holes in here so it's easier to do with one hand. All right, so we go out here, drill our hole, and then we're going to grab our bolt. Now you can use any type of bolt. I had these left over from a different project, so we're going to go ahead and use these. We're going to go ahead and screw this bolt on here. We're going to grab this piece here, which bolts onto this. We're going to screw it tight. And once that's on, then we have our flap to cover our drainage here. All right. So your next step, you're going to grab your sink stand, flip it over, and you'll put the dirty water tank in. Now, when you flip this up, sometimes it's a little hard to get, but once this is set up, just make sure all the holes match up. and grab one of your sinks. Go ahead and put all 4 in. That will bolt it down, and we'll move on to how to set up the clean water tank. So our next step here is going to be to drill holes for the faucets. Now if you look at the Rotoplast brand one, here we're using a 250 liter Rotoplast, and here is the item number for you. We went ahead and pre-drilled these holes here. So our next step is going to be adding these little pieces here. Now these are adapters that fit inside of the holes we just drilled, and they're going to let us screw in a faucet here. Now they screw counterclockwise here, so lefty tighty, righty loosey when they go in, and yeah, show you what that looks like when we're done here. You're gonna need 3. The Rotoplast already comes with 1 here, so make sure that your faucets match up with these so you can keep it uniform. Vamos a necesitar alambre para amarrar la reja, porque mira cómo la tienen.